And this is what Paul is talking about, to purge yourself from these congregations of dead works. And that also includes trying to work your way there. Then you can do to impress God. Christ said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one get to the Father but by me. What impresses God is you coming through his Son and his blood and his suffering. The cross, Calvary, and accepting his atonement, covering for your sin in the Hebrew. That's what impresses God, and living a life of faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God, as the scripture says. Faith in his word. Trust in his word. All the other stuff, Pastor Paul's calling dead works. So that's what goes on in a lot of these churches. Nothing wrong with charity or none of that. There's a lot of people, including a lot of people, see Mother Teresa in here. And she was known for her charity. I mean, it might be a little controversial to some people. But I'm just speaking of what she's been known for. A lot of people seen her in here. Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrine of Christ, let us go on to perfection, not of laying again the foundation. And perfection is maturity. Become mature. Stop being a retard in the kingdom. Laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works and of faith toward God. And of faith toward God. And of faith toward God. All right. And we're going to end this, of course, with the last book. Why not? Let's see what happens with the congregation of the dead. See what their end is. Revelations 20:5. But the rest of the dead live not again until 1,000 years were finished. This is the second resurrection. Blessed is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death have no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Okay, let me skip over that. Let me go down to verse 11. I done taught on Revelations, the whole book. Get the apocalypse teaching. If you want to hear that, that's not what I'm here for. Let's skip down to 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away. Gonna be naked. All you earth lovers and tree huggers, God's gonna wipe this out. Gonna burn it up. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open. Let me read that again. And I saw the dead. It's the congregation of the dead right here. Small and great. No matter, that's one thing about hell, don't discriminate. You could have been a Howard Hughes, a king, or a pauper, or a bum on the street. Doesn't matter. Hell is all equal. Don't care about your race, sex, anything. Hell does not discriminate. Everybody's equal in hell. Everybody's getting tortured just the same. Everybody's in their own little individual hell within here. All treated the same. Pauper could be right next to the rich man. And the bum right next to the king. All burning together, or the queen. And I saw the small and great, stand before God. And the books were open. And another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. For you to want to be judged by your works, here you go. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. The dead. The congregation of the dead. And they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. That's the ultimate damnation. Now this wasn't, the lake of fire wasn't created. It's created for fallen angels. It wasn't created for man. But this is where you're going to end up if you don't get it right down here with Christ. You end up in the congregation of the dead. And if you're in a mausoleum church, get out of it. You know what's a mausoleum. What are you sitting up in a place like that for anyway? In these stadiums, they're just giant mausoleums. They're the worst ones. You have better in a little country bumpkin church somewhere in the middle of the Ozarks than sitting up in one of them prosperity pimps, house of the dead, congregation of the dead. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. What I told you, 2 deaths. You be dead here, and then when you die, this is your second death right here, the lake of fire. If you continue to remain in the congregation of the dead. Run for the hills. Jet out of there like you have a fire up under you. Split, scram. Beat it. Bust a move. Break out. Get ghosts. Get out of it. Out of these congregations dead, these mausoleums with these morticians behind the pulpits. They mortician, Bible, cemetery degree. You have to sell out to even get them degrees now. You have to bow to the false prophet that oversees it. All right, if I'm the one that taught you, and you know if you've been taught, give. Go to streetpriestminister.org and hit that donate button. Don't think you're going to get to heaven robbing God either. That includes your thieving pastors. Just sit up here and not give it. God sees you. You be not deceived, God is not mocked. Only talk to the people that give. That's Galatians 6:6. I don't want to die from it if I haven't taught you anything. This is God's way of doing things. Not man's way. He said, muzzle not the ox and tread it out the corn. The labor is worthy of his hire. I'm laboring to bring you God's word. And I expect to be fed the proper way. And the sad thing is you got the exploitation. Prosperity pimps is raking it in by the dump truck and bulldozer loads full of money. They need the bulldozer scoop up the money and put it in their dump trucks and take it to the bank. And here you have little ministries such as Street Priest and others like it, and little small pastors in towns that is preaching God's word. They're starting. So you be the judge. Give them a teaching on the tithes, first fruit, and alabaster box if you're not familiar with it. That's I'm only interested in the hope that people have been around, just learning. I'm talking to the newcomers. All right. Good day, good evening, good night to you around the world. May you grow in faith in Jesus' name.